This blue marble-like planet looks just like Earth, but only 5 seconds on this hostile death orb would kill you. Welcome to HD 189733b. This planet is enormous, even larger than Jupiter, and to keep comparing it to the largest planet in our solar system, it's also entirely made of gas. That's why scientists classify HD 189733b as a hot Jupiter. This planet is located so close to its star that it completes its orbit in just over 2 days. Yeah, HD 189733b is 13 times closer to its sun than Mercury is to our sun. And even though its star is cooler than ours, this fake Earth is still way outside its star system's habitable zone. That means no liquid water can exist on a planet's surface. Just how this giant gaseous planet developed so close to a star is still a mystery. One theory is that HD 189733b formed right next to it during the star's earliest moments, or it could have developed further away to be pulled in as the rest of the planetary system formed. But there's one thing we know for sure. A visit to HD 189733b would be a plunge into hell with no chance of escape. Now, even if you knew there wasn't a single drop of liquid water on this planet, you'd have a hard time believing it as you approached the giant blue marble. With an average daytime temperature of nearly 1,000 degrees Celsius, this planet is twice as hot as Venus, and Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. One of the reasons for this intense heat is that the planet is tidally locked to its star, just like our own moon is to Earth. That means HD 189733b takes as much time to spin on its axis as it does to revolve around the star. So one side of the planet is constantly in daylight while the other side is shrouded in darkness. The inviting look of this world doesn't come from its oceans like it does here on Earth. No, this hellish planet gets its color from clouds of molten silica particles. These particles scatter more blue light than red, making the planet appear blue. Silica is the primary ingredient in glass, and you should bring a heavy-duty umbrella because you need to take cover from what would essentially be hot molten glass rainstorms. But that's not the only danger. You'd need to be ready to brace yourself against the extremely powerful winds that you'd find sweeping across the planet with speeds up to 7,000 kilometers per hour. These gusts are almost 30 times stronger than even the most powerful Category 5 hurricanes on Earth. Compared to the strongest winds on other planets in our solar system, HD's winds are almost 4 times stronger than those on Neptune. But hey, they might smell a little better than the ice giant's hydrogen sulfide clouds. Those carry a whiff of rotten eggs. HD's winds are so fast that they'd whip past you at about 6 times faster than the speed of sound. They would be extremely loud, but I think you'd be more worried about them tearing your body apart. You might be long gone by now, killed by that molten glass rain. In any case, you wouldn't last too long on HD 189733b. I really don't recommend traveling there, but there are some planets out there that can kill you even faster. Check out OGLE TR56b. This gas giant sits in a galaxy nearly 100 light-years away from Earth. It's even larger than HD, and its mass is nearly 1.4 times as much as Jupiter's. Somehow, it's even closer to its star too. You'd find this world to be incredibly scorching hot. Surface temperatures on this planet average around 1,700 degrees Celsius. That's so hot that it turns metal to gas. Of all the planets in the universe, Earth is clearly the best for life, right? Wrong. Earth may be great, but scientists have discovered a few worlds that could be even better for life. Behold KOI 5715.01. Most of the contenders on our super-habitable planet list aren't the ones you could visit anytime soon. They are very far away. The top spot is held by 13,000 light-years away from our solar system. KOI 5715.01 would appear to satisfy the most basic requirement for supporting life. It exists in the Goldilocks zone of its star, so conditions wouldn't be too hot or too cold for a key life-supporting ingredient to exist on its surface, liquid water. But it would also check off many boxes to be considered super-habitable. The planetary system it belongs to could be 5.2 billion years old, which would make it around 1 billion years older than our own solar system. And the planet would almost fit the size requirement when looking for super-habitable worlds. Their eyes peeled for planets that have a mass up to 1.5 times of our planet, and they should be about 10% larger too. This size difference would help the planet retain heat, and if its average temperature was about 5 degrees Celsius higher than Earth's, well, this planet could have even richer biodiversity. Now being almost double the size of Earth, KLI. Approximately 2,700 light-years away is Kepler, 69c. This super-Earth could be around 7 billion years old. This puts it perfectly in the estimated 5 to 8 billion-year-old age range for super-habitable planets. This range is based on the 3.5 billion years it took for complex life to appear on Earth. So, the best chance for finding life could be on a planet a little older than us. Only this exoplanet could be a little too big to be super-habitable. It has a mass almost 4 times that of Earth. A rocky planet this big could have a single colossal continent that would have huge deserts in its center, but the super-habitable coastline washed by Kepler's ocean could be your perfect spot to move to. Our next super-Earth shares a similar name, Kepler, 1126b, except it would be located ever so slightly closer to home. This planet is about 273 light-years away, and it belongs to a system that is 7.5 billion years old. It also orbits a yellow dwarf star much like our own. Only Kepler, 1126b, is 2.5 times closer to its star than Earth is to the Sun, but that's no big deal because the star Kepler, 1126b orbits is cooler than ours, so the habitable zone would exist in a range much closer in proximity to it. If you aren't feeling this nearness to a scorching hot star, there's another super-Earth on our list, and it's at a reasonable distance from home. Speculo, 2c, is located only 106 light-years away. Not that its proximity gives it any kind of advantage. It would still take you well over 2,000 years to travel to this super-Earth, and that's if you moved at the speed of NASA's Parker Solar Probe, the fastest probe ever launched. Speculo, 2c does look promising though. It's about 40% larger than Earth. There's also the potential for it being a rocky planet just like ours. Now, despite the fact that it also exists in the habitable zone, its red dwarf star is still very small. It's only about 15% the size of our Sun, so this planet orbits around its star at a very close distance, and this close distance could mean that Speculo, 2c, is tidally locked to its star. This super-Earth takes 8.5 days to make one full rotation on its axis, as well as one orbit around its star. That would leave one side of the planet in constant daylight and the other in endless night. This means that life could be possible in the Terminator Zone, the thin strip of land between the two extremes, where temperatures might be just right for life to exist. Two sides we just need to get a better look to find out for sure. You know, of all those planets, I'd be most interested in exploring Speculo. I imagine it smells like gingerbread and cinnamon, and it tastes delicious. My Belgian friends know Speculo is a famous cookie originating in Belgium, but this planet wasn't named after the cookie. It's actually named by Belgian astronomers after the Speculo planet hunting telescopes. In this case, Speculo is an acronym for Search for Habitable Planets Eclipsing Ultra-Cool Stars. Okay, more great space discoveries ahead, including a look at the Bermuda Triangle of space. But first, I've got something even scarier than that. The closest black hole to Earth, at least that we know of. Black holes are dark matter-devouring balls of gravity. Most of them are so far away that we don't need to worry about them. But not this one. Meet Gaia BH1. This enormous black hole sits right outside our solar system, more specifically 1,600 light-years away from us. Now, that might sound like a huge distance, but it's way closer than any other black hole on record. What's worse, we didn't even know about it until now. Despite Gaia BH1 being 10 times more massive than our Sun, we couldn't see it. Scientists usually discover these monstrosities by spotting the gas that a black hole feeds on. These hungry giants are called feeding black holes. Only Gaia BH1 isn't anything like that. This black hole is dormant. It hides in the darkness, patiently waiting for the galaxy to throw it some cosmic matter to feast on. But there's one thing that gave away Gaia's presence. You see, most star systems in the universe are binary. That means they have not one but two stars orbiting each other. Our black hole neighbor is also part of a binary star system, except instead of two stars, this system has one star and one black hole. Yeah, Gaia BH1 was disguising itself as a star, but even though this monstrosity doesn't feed on any gas or matter yet, it still couldn't help but jiggle its star counterpart a little. Yeah, Good try, Gaia, but we still caught you. Out there in space, there are black holes a lot scarier than Gaia BH1, and some are so bizarre that they shouldn't even exist. A team of scientists discovered an unbelievable black hole and gave it the melodic name LB1. The weird thing about this black hole is that it's just too massive to be true. Okay, let's get some facts straight. We know of two types of black holes. Stellar black holes are what massive stars become when they die. They're everywhere in the universe. Even in our Milky Way galaxy, there could be as many as 1 billion of them lurking around. These beasts can be between 10 and 24 times as massive as our Sun. The other type of black holes are supermassive ones. These enormities sit at the center of almost every galaxy, including our own. We don't really know how they form, but we do know that they're unimaginably gigantic, billions of times more massive than our Sun. But LB1 doesn't fit either of these types. At 70 solar masses, it's too enormous to be a stellar black hole, yet it's too tiny to be a supermassive one. Scientists were scratching their heads trying to explain this phenomenon. Some theorized that it might not be a single black hole, but two black holes orbiting each other. Others guessed that LB1 was born of a gigantic star that was still in the middle of becoming a black hole. Well, the answer was simpler than we thought. LB1 isn't a black hole at all. It's an optical illusion caused by two rare stars orbiting each other. It's a unique star system to stargaze. But when scientists said they found an improbable black hole, well, they were wrong. But please, how could you blame them? It's pretty hard to study an object 15,000 light-years away. Mistakes happen. The good news is that LB1 didn't upend our understanding of black holes after all. Now, that doesn't mean that black holes can't blow your mind. Remember the one at the center of the Milky Way? Yeah, it's called Sagittarius A*, and it's as massive as 4.2 million suns. But there's always a bigger fish in the universe. Sagittarius A* might be the most massive monster lurking in our galaxy, but it's not even close to some of the really big players out there like Ton 618. This black hole is devouring matter 10 billion light-years away from us. It's as bright as 140 trillion suns, so bright that it outshines its own galaxy. And its mass? Yeah, 66 billion times that of our Sun. Big. When scientists discovered it, they began to wonder if even more massive black holes were possible. Of course, the name supermassive wouldn't do bigger black holes any justice, so astronomers came up with a cool name for them too. Stupendously large black holes, or slabs. Yeah, and then they found one. Move over, Ton 618. There's a new gargantuan black hole in town. This stupendously large monstrosity sits at the center of Phoenix A, a galaxy around 8.2 billion light-years away from us. It's almost impossible to imagine how enormous this thing is. Scientists think it has a mass of 100 billion suns. That's more massive than some galaxies out there, and it won't stop growing. The event horizon of this black hole at the center of Phoenix A is unimaginably huge too. It has a diameter of about 100 times the distance between the Sun and Pluto. If you jumped on a SpaceX Starship and tried to fly across this black hole, it would take you 2,500 years to complete that journey. Yeah, we're lucky that this monstrous slab is so far away from us that we don't have to worry about it swallowing our solar system whole. But there are two more supermassive black holes very close to Earth, and they're on a collision course with each other. Okay, when I say very close to Earth, I mean 500 million light-years away from us, but still closer than a lot of the other scary things out there. Seriously though, we don't know what exactly happens when two supermassive black holes collide. We've never observed a full merger of supermassive giants. Scientists think that they'll dance around each other for about 200 million years before finally becoming one. But this would be a violent marriage. As the black holes spiral together, they'll send enormous gravitational waves through space. Waves so big that we'll be able to detect them from our planetary neighborhood. But that's not the scary part. Mergers like that happen all the time, and right now the Milky Way is on a collision course with the Andromeda Galaxy. When our two galaxies become one, what will happen to the supermassive black holes at their centers? Will they merge too? Would an event like this tear everything in its vicinity to shreds? Yeah, I bet that's what keeps astronomers up at night. Just north of the Martian equator lies a 4.5 kilometers wide impact crater that scientists believe may have been the site of an ancient lake. Here, at Jezero Crater, scientists theorize that its frozen soil may contain the most significant discovery of humankind: life. On February 18, 2021, NASA's Perseverance rover started searching this crater to find out if we're truly alone. What is the likelihood of life on Mars? What would these Martians look like, and how will we send samples back to Earth? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we discovered life on Mars. As Scientific American puts it, it would take a near miracle for Mars to be sterile. Astrobiologist Chris McKay at NASA believes that Earth and Mars have been sharing materials for billions of years, kind of like using your roommate's spice rack. What? I thought you said it was communal. Comets or large meteorites that have hit Earth may have also sent debris onto Mars. A tiny fraction of this debris on Mars could have carried the same microbes that kick-started life as we know it on Earth. But what would this alien life look like? Many scientists agree that whatever life on Mars we might find would need to be incredibly robust. With the combination of radiation and freezing temperatures on Mars, could any life form survive such a harsh environment? As far-fetched as it sounds, microbiologists have discovered many organisms that thrive in extreme environments. The tardigrade, or water bear, is a highly resistant extremophile. It can withstand heat, cold, pressure, radiation, and even a complete lack of oxygen. There are also certain types of bacteria on Earth that rapidly produce spores when faced with hazardous conditions. The bacteria can then hibernate during an extended period of drought and withstand intense ionizing radiation. A team of 1,000 geologists, chemists, physicists, and biologists worldwide have drilled 4.8 kilometers into the Earth and discovered robust life forms. Mars has a similar geological past to Earth, so looking underground could be a great place to start. By drilling into the Jezero crater, we could encounter spores associated with a relatively recent geological era. And on future missions to Mars, we may dig deeper and uncover fully vegetative microbes. To find rock samples that might support life, NASA's Perseverance rover uses an array of lasers called a supercam. It can study the surface of Mars at a distance. One of the lasers will heat a rock sample and vaporize it. This creates a plasma that can be analyzed to understand its elemental composition. Another laser will reveal which compounds are in the dirt. If the supercam detects organic molecules or elevated concentrations of elements like nitrogen or phosphorus, the rover will head over to take a closer look. It will then scan the soil in greater detail to detect any organic material hiding in the dirt. NASA's team on Earth has only one shot at picking the right spot to gather these samples. With limited space on board the rover, only a few dozen samples can be collected. So, no pressure and fingers crossed. If all goes well, NASA plans to bring back samples known for preserving biosignatures. On Earth, biosignatures are faint molecular traces left behind by microbes billions of years ago. Once the samples are collected, NASA and the European Space Agency plan 2 missions to get them back to Earth. This involves blasting tubes of rock and soil samples into orbit to be collected by another spacecraft and then returned to Earth. This looks kind of fun. If Perseverance's mission is successful, the discovery of life on Mars would be as groundbreaking as the discovery of DNA. In 1543, Copernicus boldly shook the status quo with his theory that the planets orbited the Sun. His discoveries completely changed our worldview, no longer putting Earth at the center of the universe. Discovering life beyond Earth could be just as powerful, but not finding any life could raise more questions. Is the Earth truly special? Are we alone out here? Even if we don't discover life, these Martian rock samples will allow chemists to study the geochemistry, mineralogy, and foundational bedrock materials of Mars in detail. This could provide us with essential insights into the climate history of Mars and help us better understand Earth's climate as well. In 1976, 2 Viking landers became the first spacecraft from Earth to touch down on Mars. They too probed for life in the Martian soil, and the results are still debated to this day. One experiment indicated that the Martian soil tested positive for metabolism. On Earth, this would almost certainly suggest the presence of life. But another related experiment found no trace of organic material whatsoever. While most scientists have not reconciled the conflicting results, the consensus is that there's no conclusive evidence of life on Mars. But several researchers disagree. Recent discoveries of terrestrial microorganisms surviving outside of the ISS indicate that life may be resilient enough for Mars, and methane in the Martian atmosphere could be a sign of microbial methanogens, a type of microorganism that produces a significant amount of methane. Stinky aliens, mind you. It's possible that life on Mars didn't have the right conditions to start at all, or maybe it died off from an extinction event similar to the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Or it's even possible that we might end up finding life that was accidentally brought to Mars by one of our many rovers. Let's hope this Perseverance mission doesn't turn into a $2.7 billion facepalm. The heliopause is 4 times further away from the Sun than Neptune, so fasten your seatbelts and power through a pretty uneventful view for about 10 more years. Yeah, I know you'd prefer a view of Jupiter or Uranus instead, but hey, it's almost time to explore worlds you've never seen. I just remembered I was supposed to tell you something important. You know how your electric sails need solar winds to sail? Well, now you'd be the furthest from the Sun you've ever been, and that means there won't be as many solar particles pushing your spaceship forward. Your sailing might just come to a complete stop, leaving you stuck forever in the outskirts of the solar system, cold, lonely, and hopeless. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This could be how your days come to an end. So, while you still have some life left in your sails, you'll need to navigate to another star. If I were you, I'd head to the Alpha Centauri star system. It's the closest one around, and it has not 1 but 3 stars. Now, you should also know that not all stars are equal in providing you the powerful solar winds you so desperately need. Passing by a red dwarf star like Alpha Centauri C, also known as Proxima Centauri, you'd experience luminosities that could be anywhere from 1/10 to 1,000th as strong as our own Sunday. But despite this, you might be able to gain enough accelerating power to reach super high speeds once again, and all this without any chemical fuel. Yeah, going green is the cool new thing everyone's talking about. Sailing across the universe is fun until the solar wind dies down. Most Earth sailors will have a propeller as a backup, but just make sure it's not a combustion engine because there's no oxygen in space. Hey, you like my shirt? Well, you can have one of your own. You know we've got a merch store, don't you? You didn't know? Well, check out what's in it by going to shop.underknown.com. The What If 100. Hats, hoodies, and more. We've got it all. Alright, one of the spookiest places on our planet used to be the Bermuda Triangle, but over the last few decades, people have lost interest in it. So now, there's a new, more mysterious triangle, bigger and better than before, and it's in space. Did you know that there's a mysterious area in space where astronauts are unable to communicate with home base? They're exposed to extreme levels of radiation, and their spaceships start to malfunction? It's being dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of space. This area has perplexed scientists for decades, but astronomers may have finally solved this outer space anomaly. What exactly is the Bermuda Triangle of space anyway? Well, its official name is the South Atlantic Anomaly, or SAA for short. It's hovering above the South Atlantic, stretching from Chile to Zimbabwe, and this area has a considerably weaker magnetic field when compared to the rest of the Van Allen radiation belt. The Van Allen radiation belt is a pair of cosmic donuts surrounding Earth. This is a unique location where the radiation belt comes closest to the Earth's surface. These belts trap particles that shoot from the sun, which protects the Earth from harmful radiation. The solar radiation within the South Atlantic anomaly isn't held back to the same degree, though. But why? Well, to explain that, first let's dive into what happens if you wander into this terrifying part of our solar system. The SAA is known for causing electronic malfunctions in spaceships and extreme radiation exposure for astronauts. It can completely destroy spacecraft. In 2016, the Japanese satellite Hitomi came crashing down to Earth after satellite operators began getting mixed signals from the ship. It was reporting inaccurate data about how it was performing up in space, making people down on Earth think that everything was fine. But this was happening as it traveled through the SAA, so operators weren't aware that there was a problem and couldn't take steps to correct it. The Hubble telescope luckily has managed to avoid any issues while traveling through the SAA, despite spending a whopping 15% of its time in this region. Palm. If Mars is your bag, well, have you ever thought about setting up shop there? With recent developments in rocketry, colonizing Mars might be possible in our lifetime. Okay, Colonizing Mars sounds like a fun idea, but in reality, would you really want to move there? I wouldn't consider it a spare Earth. It's pretty inhospitable. Now, it's possible we could make it habitable, but if we have that kind of capability, why don't we look at something else in the universe that's a little more people-friendly? Well, later on, we'll explore one possible friendly candidate, Kepler-22b. But it's 635 light-years away. You want to make that move? I'm happy to move if the planet has beaches and long summers and waterfalls and mangoes. But unless this planet is better than Earth, I say we stay right here. Watch this. Could there be an even better planet for us than Earth? Scientists are searching for a super-habitable world that wouldn't just rival Earth, but be a place where life could thrive even more easily, and they're looking at exoplanets. How would we discover Earth 2.0? What would make an exoplanet habitable, and how long would it take to get there? This is what if, and here's what would happen if we discovered Earth 2.0. You wouldn't be able to find an exoplanet by looking through a telescope. All you'd see is the bright glare of the stars they orbit. NASA built the Kepler telescope to discover exoplanets, and before it ran out of fuel, the Kepler telescope surveyed our region of the Milky Way galaxy. Its technology uses the transit method to find planets hundreds of light-years away. How? It measured the fluctuation of light coming from distant stars. When a planet transits or passes in front of a star, the star isn't as bright, so the Kepler telescope uses that to detect exoplanets. This is not an easy thing to do, but during its 9-year lifetime, the Kepler telescope confirmed the existence of 4,367 exoplanets. Could any of them be Earth 2.0? If you're a longtime fan of What If, you've probably heard this before, but Earth is a very special place. And even if a planet is deemed to be habitable, it doesn't mean that it resembles Earth very much. A habitable planet is a rocky planet located in the habitable zone, allowing water to stay on the planet's surface in its liquid form. That's it. Venus and Mars are habitable planets, but they are definitely not like Earth. So let's talk about 3 major conditions that we look for when searching for an even better version of Earth. First, it would need to have sunlight. Our sun's lifespan is about 10 billion years, and it took 4 billion years for anything more complex than the simplest life form to pop up on our planet. But K-type dwarf stars have lifespans of about 70 billion years, so if we found an exoplanet orbiting a K-type star, there would be more time for life to evolve and live on it. The second major condition is temperature. A planet that's too hot or too cold wouldn't be able to host the life forms we'd need to survive. But if we find a planet that's... The major condition is temperature. A planet that's too hot or too cold wouldn't be able to host the life forms we'd need to survive. But if we find a planet that's a mere 5 degrees warmer than Earth and it has more water, we could be looking at Earth 2.0, covered in a lush, biodiverse rainforest. The third major condition we'd be looking for is size. Gravity retains a planet's atmosphere, and there's a direct relationship between gravity and a planet's size. So, if we find a planet that's only 1.5 times larger than Earth, it would be able to hold on to its interior heat and maintain its atmosphere for a longer time. But bigger isn't always better. While Earth-sized exoplanets are usually rocky, about 50% of the exoplanets larger than Earth are gas giants. And if an exoplanet is too small, it would likely be barren like Mars. So, are there any exoplanets out there that meet these requirements? Okay, I found a planet that could be super-habitable, Kepler-1649c. It could be a contender to become Earth 2.0. It's 300 light-years away and orbits a red dwarf star. It gets sunlight but only 75% as much as Earth, so it might be a bit cooler there, and there wouldn't be any seasons on Kepler-1649c. A full orbit only takes 19.5 Earth days, so we'd need to get used to that. Oh, and it could be tidally locked, which means one side of the planet constantly faces its sun while the other side faces space. Also, living on a planet that orbits a red dwarf star could be risky. Sometimes red dwarf stars send out massive flares, dousing an orbiting planet in UV light and creating huge temperature fluctuations. But if we decide that Kepler-1649c is worthy of becoming Earth 2.0, what would happen next? Well, using our current technology, it would take at least 2,000 years to reach this Earth 2.0. And since this planet is so far away, we only know about its size, the distance to its star, and the makeup of its atmosphere. So, we could pack up humanity, take the multi-generational trip to Earth 2.0, and discover that it's more like a Neptune 2.0. Yeah, there's no way we could survive on a gas giant. We need much more information before we send humans to any possible Earth 2.0s. So, right now, NASA is developing a tiny probe to travel at 1% of the speed of light. It could greatly expand our knowledge of exoplanets. And we shouldn't limit ourselves to looking just at exoplanets. A moon receives direct solar energy from its star, and the planet it orbits reflects solar energy toward it. So, maybe a moon could be more suitable for human life than an exoplanet. The most Earth-like planet in our solar system is Titan, Saturn's largest moon. So, if we want to save thousands of years of traveling, maybe Titan could make a good second home for us. Rockets are incredibly powerful. You can launch yourself into orbit, fly to the moon, and soon enough, travel to Mars. But to go beyond our solar system, you're going to need something else: solar sails. How exactly would sails work out in space? How long would it take you to travel to the edge of the solar system? And why could this journey end with your slow and lonely demise? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you sailed the galaxy on solar winds. To launch a spaceship, you need a rocket to push you up into the sky. That push is called thrust. Being launched from Earth with the power of a rocket gives a spacecraft most of its momentum. After this, you'd need more fuel to change your speed or course, but there are no gas stations out there in space for you to refuel. And that means you can only go as far as your fuel takes you. You see, more fuel means more weight, and in space, your reserves are limited. In other words, it would be really hard to get to your interstellar destination with rockets alone. But all of that is about to change. All aboard, you're set to sail across the galaxy. On Earth, sails have been moving boats around the globe for centuries. They work without any fuel, only the power of wind. But out in space, there are no air particles moving around, so you need to harness a different kind of wind. Solar winds carry charged particles ejected by the sun. These particles fly across the solar system at a blisteringly fast 1.6 million kilometers per hour. But with a special type of sail, you could take advantage of that power to get yourself across the solar system and beyond. And no, those special sails wouldn't look much like the sails you're familiar with. Are you ready to have your mind blown? This is the contraption that could take you across the galaxy. It's called electric sails, or e-sails. They're kind of like an umbrella without fabric. Only these ribs would be made of electrically charged aluminum wires, and they can be as long as 20 kilometers while also being no thicker than about half of one strand of hair upon your head. Now, all you'd need is the solar wind, and you could sail across the deep, dark sea of outer space. Wait, there's one catch. You see, you'd still need chemical rockets to launch you off into space to begin with. That's because electric sails don't work within Earth's magnetosphere. The magnetosphere is the area around the planet that's under the influence of its magnetic field. It's up to 10 times larger than Earth itself, and to escape it, you'd need a little boost from the old-school rockets. Or you could build a spaceport around Earth. It would have to be far enough so that the planet's magnetic field doesn't reach it. But you know that would get too expensive and take too long to construct, and we want to send you on this journey right now. So, you'd launch your ship from Earth and out of the magnetosphere's limits. From there, it would be smooth sailing. With a 1,000-kilogram spacecraft like yours, you'd have about 100 wires to catch solar wind particles. You'd be a pioneer, voyaging through space with this fantastic new technology. After 1 year of sailing, you'd reach a speed of at least 30 kilometers per second, and you might even go as fast as 150 kilometers per second. And that's really fast, faster than Voyager 1, the fastest space probe humans have ever sent off-world. The Voyager 1 probe is hurtling through space at about 17 kilometers per second. After spending 3 years getting past Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, you'd end up beyond the orbit of Neptune. You'd navigate by simply changing the voltage levels on different wires of your electric sails. Yeah, well, you'd still have to be a navigational genius to sail safely, especially when you get closer to the outer edges of the solar system. Here, you have to pass through the Kuiper Belt. This area is filled with icy comets, and if you're not careful, these comets will do some hefty damage to your electric sails. Yeah, Your interstellar trip might end before you even get out of our planetary neighborhood. After that, you've still got a long way to go to the very end of the solar system.